It's time to chill out and get ready for a mediocre Q&A live stream. If you're old enough, grab yourself your favorite adult beverage, and if you're not, stick with apple juice. Put your feet up and relax. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the chat. And now let's cue up the intro music. This live stream is brought to you by Heatcraft Refrigeration. Find out more about them at heatcraftrpd.com. And welcome to the HVACR videos live stream. Hello to everybody. Play with my mic here. Probably won't do any good. Something about my microphone stand that's a little funky, but I'm not going to bang anything this time. Last time I hit the mic and it boing, made a weird noise. And so yeah, welcome to the HVACR videos live stream. My name is Chris. I'm your host. I'm your only person here. I don't know why I'd say I'm your host, but I started these live streams again. I say this, to a lot of you guys that are regulars in here, probably hear this a lot too much, but there's a lot of new people that come in too. So, the whole point of me starting these live streams is trying to consolidate the questions, right? I get a ton of questions from the videos. I get a ton of negative comments, positive comments all over the place. And I appreciate all of them. Okay. Even the negative stuff, I grow from it. Sometimes there's value in what people say, it's cool. I sometimes think that people don't need to be such kind of silly people, but I would imagine that the people that are really negative are the people that have no control of their lives and they just sit behind a keyboard because when they turn off the keyboard, they probably go into the other room and get beat by whatever and have no say in their lives, so they just feel like they need to really get their aggression out on a keyboard, right? I'm just joking around at that, but still, you get the point. But I wanted to start this off because one of the comments that I got just made me laugh, and that's why I brought this up, because some of this stuff is just so funny. When I get the comments from people that are angry with me for giving away information for free, it just makes me laugh out loud. Okay. There's no reason to be afraid. You're not going to lose your job. If you're a competent technician, if you know what you're doing, you have a good attitude, and you're a good person in general, give away all your knowledge. You don't have any fear of anything, right? You're not going to lose your job. I don't understand the idea of not sharing knowledge. I don't need to covet the little bit of knowledge that I have. I try to share it with other people in hopes that they share their knowledge with me, so that way we can help the community as a whole. This whole HVACR trade is a community. We learn from each other, we bounce ideas off of each other, and I think it's important that we share our knowledge. Now, this comment came from a silly YouTube short, right? And one thing I have to say, short form content, like I really don't. There's a part of the short form content that I really hate because it draws in negativity for some reason. Don't know what it is, because YouTube shows it to a broader audience maybe, and all the other social media platforms, they just show the short form content to a broader audience, so people just feel like they have to comment, and some of the comments are just so silly. But this gentleman was afraid that I was sharing my trade secrets. Like, who cares? I'm not afraid of losing my job. I'm not afraid of getting replaced. I know there's plenty of work, and it's inevitable that there's going to be a technician. There is technicians out there that are better than myself, and the same for you that are watching this too. But it's okay. It's okay not to be the best person in the world, not to be the best technician. It really is okay. Right. And I encourage everybody out there, share your knowledge, share it with someone else. If you learn something cool, share it. There's that I learned from experience. I learned from making mistakes. And my hopes are that maybe one of you that's watching, doesn't make the same mistake as me. Maybe I share something that helps you to not make the same mistake as I did. I think that's important. And I encourage everybody out there to share their knowledge. Okay. Let's see what the comments have to say. If you're a good technician, you are willing to teach others, and that's a great thing. Let's see, keyboard warriors. Yeah, exactly. Car mechanics are in business because of DIY, and there's an argument to be made there, right? I always say, my videos in general, they're not DIY videos. Okay. There's a lot of missing information, but if you are an intuitive person, you could probably watch my videos and you could probably figure things out. I understand that. And I think that's fair. Okay. The car mechanics in general, you can go buy every car part from your local auto parts store. You can buy factory parts from the dealerships. You can buy everything, right? You may mess something up and then you have to take your car to a mechanic. You may be an intuitive, mechanically inclined person that can fix your own car, and good for you. But I don't think there's anything wrong with sharing information. This is the new generation. This is the new era. This is how things are going. There is lots and lots of content on social media and different video sharing websites, YouTube, whatever it may be. And, there's some people out there that are going to watch that content and mess something up. There's some people that are out there that are going to watch that content and learn and help themselves, and, to each their own. But I have no problem with sharing knowledge. I really don't. So, let me see. Reading through the chat right now, seeing what I'm missing. Hello to everybody in here too. Welcome to the stream. So, let's see. Sean says Sean has been doing HVAC for 27 years and learns something new every day. And he says, especially from watching videos like I make, and I'm sure he means other people's videos too, of course. Okay. And it's not saying that, there's anything less of you, Sean, for learning something new every day, because I learn something new every day too. Okay. I learned from friends. Jason Johnson in here has given me a lot of knowledge before, or several times. He shares little bits of stuff. I might share little bits of stuff. We all as a community share within each other. And I encourage everybody out there, if you are not on social media, I mean, clearly you're watching this video, so I'd assume you are. But if you're not, especially in Facebook, I know a lot of people don't like Facebook, but there are some really good communities inside of Facebook. There's a few HVAC groups that are very reputable, have lots of great information. I highly encourage you to find those groups. And the same people that are in this chat right now are very active in those same groups. There's, I'd say, a good 4 HVAC groups that I'm very active and just love participating in. Now, there's some that are just nonsense, and that's fun sometimes, but for the most part, educational. There's some really good groups out there that are heavily moderated, and I encourage you guys to go find them. A few of them, just off the top of my head, is the HVAC school group. HVAC Overtime has nonsense and some educational stuff in it, so that one is one of my groups with my friends. HVAC School, HVAC Overtime. HVAC Grapevine. What other ones? I know there's a couple more. Those are 3 right now off the top of my head, but I know there's some more too. And, there's lots of great information and there's a great community. So I encourage you to join that community. Now, if you guys are watching this on other social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, whatever it may be, I say this every time, but I'll say it again. There is a large community in the YouTube chat right now. If you want to be part of that active chat, you want to come over to the YouTube side, but it doesn't benefit me either way, which one you're in. I just want everybody to be part of this community. And there's a great conversation going usually in the chat. So let's see what else we got going on here. Best way to tell if a compressor has a bad valve, Christopher is asking. Okay, there's a couple different methods. There's some old school methods. There's some new ways. Okay, if it's a scroll compressor, it doesn't have a valve. It uses a scroll plate. And the only way to test if a scroll compressor is working properly is to analyze the compression ratio and analyze the current draw of the compressor during certain variables, and you should be able to figure out. Now, Copeland does a really good job of publishing that data on their Copeland mobile app. I'd encourage you guys to download that. I have no affiliation with Copeland. I just do appreciate the Copeland mobile app. And they have a diagnostic feature within that app where you can analyze a Copeland compressor, whether it be whatever brand compressor. You can input data and it will give you operating characteristics and tell you if you're operating outside the normal operating envelope of the compressor. So that is a very good way to do it. Old school, you could do pump down tests, but those weren't as accurate as people say that they are. But on semi-hermetic compressors, the reciprocating semi-hermetic compressors, you could do pump down tests. Hermetically sealed compressors, you're not really supposed to do a pump down test on them, but I have done them in the past and you can find valuable information in them, but you just want to be careful. But you never want to try to do a pump down test as far as shutting down the low side or anything like that on a scroll compressor, because they're not meant to be pumped down to lower pressures. They're not meant to run in a vacuum like we would typically see on a reciprocating compressor. So let's see what else we got going on in the chat. Hey, John, how you doing? John Ellis is in here. What's up, my friend? Ty and Trevor Matthews are really smart guys. Jason's saying that, probably talking about the different groups and comments and stuff. Yeah, definitely. There's some very active people in the social media platform or in social media community, and it's a great way to learn and to help others. I encourage everybody out there to go join those communities for sure. Let me see. Only compressors you work on is semi-hermetics. And that's a good statement. Unless you live in a third world country, we do not rebuild our hermetically sealed compressors here in the United States. I know there's a few rebuilders, but for the most part, we don't do that. In some of the other countries, they might, and so be it if that's what you do. They don't have the resources or the finances oftentimes. So, guys will get in there and rebuild them. It's kind of interesting. I don't know why it's a prerequisite, though, for people that rebuild the compressors to be barefoot. I do not understand why that is the prerequisite. I'm not making fun of them, but it is kind of funny, actually, now that I think about it. But still, it is very interesting. If you go on YouTube and you watch any of the compressor rebuilders, like almost everyone I find, they don't have shoes on, they're barefoot. But you got to give them an A for effort in the way that they can rebuild some of those things. Now, whether or not they're up to manufacturer's specs with the tolerances and things inside, I don't know about that, but it is really interesting to see some of those guys rebuild those compressors. They'll cut open the tiniest compressors, take the guts out, rebuild them, put them back together. It's really interesting. So let me see what else we got going on in the chat right now. How am I dealing with these gas prices as a company owner? Chris, we're a time and materials company. We pass on the cost to our customer. So if gas prices go up, give or take, like I haven't raised my truck charge. I have a truck charge that I put on every invoice for $100. And in all honesty, I haven't raised that truck charge in a few years, but I'm still doing okay. We've raised our labor rates. We've raised our part markup and different things, throughout the year. But we've also lowered certain things. Like, for instance, we lowered our parts markup when it comes to R22 refrigerant because I'm trying to deplete my stock and get rid of it. So I lowered the price down from my normal markup just a little bit because I know it was getting a little rough for the customers and I want to clear out my stock of it, but I still plan on using a lot of those refrigerants, but it all just depends. Fuel prices, it sucks. I mean, what was it? It cost me like 100 and I want to say, because right now gas is, I think I've paid as high as $6 a gallon right now. And I want to say it was $150 or $160 to fill up my van the other day. I was kind of like, whoa, okay, that's up. But yeah, we just passed that cost on to the customer. So let's see what else we got going on in the chat right now. Reading through here. Recently started using Measure Quick, Sean is saying, on multi-circuit RTUs such as Linux. If you don't have probes for every circuit, can you use less than 4 sets of gauges? I mean, the only way to do it, depending on the compress, like, are you working like the 18-ton units that have 4 compressors? You would just have to switch your probes if you don't have enough. Am I understanding your question right? So it says, if you don't have probes for every circuit, can you use less than 4 sets of gauges? I'm assuming that are you asking me if you can use gauges instead of probes? If there's, depending on the brand, you can link them up with Measure Quick, but I don't quite know if I understand your question. Clarify it. If I notice it, if I don't notice it, you can feel free to shoot me an email at hvacrvideos@gmail.com. And the reason why I say that is sometimes the chat just goes by so fast I can't see your response. So let's see what else. Do my customers really say hurry? Like I write, hurry the blah blahs down? What do you mean? Oh, hurry the walk-in freezers down? Yeah. Yeah, that is a common phrase, you know. Hurry up. What was it? I got one this weekend. Refrigerator not working. This is a very critical piece of equipment. We need you out here on Sunday. 911, you know, and I'm like, no, not for a reach-in cooler. So yeah, no, they expect miracles for some of the stuff. I had a manager for a reach-in cooler put in a service request Friday for a bar unit, and he could see within his CRM invoicing program that they dispatch with, they could see that I accepted the service call. So then he called me Saturday and he's like, yeah, when are you showing up, man? I need you here. And it's like, no, we'll see you Monday. That's not an emergency, you know? So it all just depends on the customer too. Um, let me see. What do I got going on in here? Have I ever worked on steam heating systems? No, I have not worked on any steam heating. Here in Southern California, clearly we have very mild winters in my area. Okay. Understand something. California in general has a giant range of climates across the entire state. Okay. Huge. Like people don't even realize we could be up in Northern California and you can have sub-zero temperatures in certain areas. And that's a normal, right? I can be down in Southern California, my area, and it could be 120 degrees in the summertime. But our winters in my little microclimate of Southern California, which is the Inland Empire, it basically is desert weather. Okay. So in the wintertime, my design temperature is 37 degrees, but that's the extreme low. Okay. On average, my winters here are 50 something degrees. 45 to 50 degrees is my average winter temperature. But the extreme low that we designed to is 37 degrees for my location. Okay. But yeah, we get different weathers and different things. But yeah, no, I don't. Anyways, the reason why I went into that is I don't work on steam heat. I rarely even work on gas heat. But gas heat and heat pumps is all that we have typically in the light commercial stuff that I'm doing. So that's all that I have experience with. I do not have experience with steam heating, anything like that, oil heating, none of that. See what else we got going on in the chat. Those mug reach-ins are always an emergency. And the funny thing is, I do go for certain customers on emergency stuff, but I do have to say that my patience has been getting lower and lower for the customers that aren't doing routine maintenance, but then want me to drop everything, my family function, eating dinner with my family on Sunday. And I lose patience with those ones. I'm very respectful and professional about it. I'm not being rude to the customer, but I just honestly, we've kind of made it a point that we don't answer non-emergency phone calls and we don't call people back for non-emergency things as far as the business goes on the weekends. So Saturday morning to Sunday night, I'm not answering business emails. I'm not answering business phone calls if they're not true emergencies. Walk-in freezers, walk-in coolers, entire air conditioning systems down. For something like a reach-in cooler, it's not really a priority for me. So I don't even entertain those. I just kind of ignore the service calls and then just deal with them on Monday. That's just the way that I roll with that. So let's see what else we got going on in the chat. A great resource for steam heating is a book called The Lost Art of Steam Heating by Dan Holohan. Yeah, and I have heard about that book. Didn't Brian Orr have him on? I believe he has since passed away, correct? I don't think I'm incorrect in that. I believe Dan Holohan has passed away, but I thought I remember him being on Brian Orr's, but someone correct me if I'm completely wrong. Um, I could be thinking of someone different because Brian's had so many amazing guests. Like, think about this. Think about Brian and HVAC school, right? I know Brian the slightest bit just from little friendly communications back and forth. But I mean, at what point the dude just keeps pulling the most amazing guests out of a hat, right? At what point does he run out of guests? Like, but he still keeps coming out with these awesome ones, grabbing people from outside of the industry, bringing in collaborators. I don't know if you know that, but Brian Orr is a very good person at delegating tasks and different things. And with the HVAC school empire that he has, he has people that help him with different things. My buddy Adam Muffich is one of the writers and does some help with planning and videos and different things. And so it's really cool what they have going on over there. Don't know why I went down that path, but there we go. Yeah, he was on Brian's. Okay, Toby. Yeah, thanks, man. That's what I thought. Yeah, he did pass. Okay, see, I'm not incorrect completely. Have I been on Brian's show? Yeah, I've been on Brian's show once or twice in the very beginning. Before I got like crazy busy with my videos, I used to collaborate a little bit. I think I wrote 3 or 4 articles that were published, in the HVAC school stuff, but it was like way in the beginning. I think if you go to Brian's HVAC school, it's hvacrschool.com. I think if you search my name, I think they'll come up or something. So let's see what else. How's my house project going? Am I almost done? Yeah, I'm getting a lot closer. So for those that don't know, I'm looking at a list of questions. I'm looking at questions in the chat, and I'm going to talk for a little bit, and I'll get to some more questions on my paper too. But I am in the process of replacing the air conditioning system in my home. Okay, and we went a little bit crazy. If you haven't seen it, go to my channel. It's the HVACR videos home series, something or other. I labeled it, but house AC. I don't know what it's called, but HVACR videos house project maybe or something like that. But anyways, I've been documenting the process of changing the air conditioning system in my home, and I'm getting pretty close to being done. So this last weekend, I was not planning on being able to work on my system because I've been super busy at work, and I've only been able to work on my house project on the weekends that I'm not on call, which essentially is 3 weekends a month. Okay. I take 2 weekends on, I have 3 weekends off. So 3 weekends a month, and then usually take away one of those weekends because we got a family function going on. So it's usually only 1 to 2 weekends a month that I'm able to do work on my house. So anyways, this weekend, I was able to get up into the attic and spray foam all the boots because I put uninsulated boots. I'm replacing every register and boot and all the ductwork for my entire system. So I'd already done the boot cut-ins. I'm trying to leave my existing system in operation for as much time as I can. So I've been working around it. So I've got all the ductwork preliminarily ran up in the attic, but I am using flexible ductwork. But it's a process of getting it installed right. So I installed the boots. I had sealed them last weekend, and then this weekend I was able to get some spray foam. I got a 2-part froth pack, the sealant, and I went through and I spray foamed all the boots to insulate them, and then spray foamed the flex duct right on top of the boot, that area right there. And then we just have R8 flex duct for the rest of the project. But anyway, so I was able to get up there and do that. And then I was able to measure now for my sheet metal. So I need a whole new plenum and some transition pieces, some pieces that connect me to the air cleaner or the filter assembly. So anyways, I got to go get some sheet metal ductwork made. So I was able to do that this weekend, get the measurements, get it all drawn out what I need. And now I just need to go find a sheet metal shop near me that can make me some plenums or a plenum and some transitions and different things. So we are literally, if I can get the ductwork made, the sheet metal stuff, I'm pretty much at the point where I need to pull my system out to go any further. I've done almost everything else. Oh, that's the other thing too, is I got up in my attic and I glued the insulation because I have hard drawn ACR pipe ran all through my attic, mounted on Unistrut, and I never sealed the insulation seams and gluing it to the Unistrut Cushatherm clamps. So I got up there and glued all that, sealed all that up. I've got the electrical ready. I'm pretty much all ready to gut my existing system. Now I won't be doing it next weekend because it's one of my daughter's birthdays. But hopefully we'll be doing it soon. So let's get on this. And then, yeah, because I got to get it done because it looks like I'm going to be going to Georgia the end of October. I'm going to go out to Heatcraft's facility again and do some video stuff with them. So I'll be doing that towards the end of October. So yeah, I'm cutting it close. Got to get this thing going. Let's see what else we got going on in the chat. Why don't some package units not have liquid line service ports? It's all about cost, Mr. Green. Manufacturers oftentimes all beat to the tune of their own drum. And a good majority of the package unit manufacturers have cut out liquid line access ports, and they typically only have discharge ports on package units. That's pretty common. So it can be difficult, and depending on the metering device on a package unit, your discharge line and your liquid line can have a significantly different pressure across the two of them. There can be a massive pressure drop. Sometimes on some of the carrier fixed orifice metering device systems that have R22 in them, I noticed like 35 PSI of a pressure drop from discharge to liquid. So that can skew subcooling numbers. If you're trying to use subcooling on package units, it can throw you off. So you have to understand that. Now, expansion valve systems, I typically don't, you shouldn't really see a huge pressure differential across the expansion valve systems for the most part. They have a pretty consistent number, but definitely on the fixed orifice. But yeah, it's just a manufacturer's being cheap, really. It's really all that it is. How cool is HVACR survival in person? Rick is a cool dude. I've had the opportunity to meet and hang out with Rick 3 times now, I think. Yeah, 3 times we've been able to meet and hang out, and Rick's a cool dude. You know, it's really neat to have this HVACR community. Not only do we have all of you in the chat, and we have all the viewers, also I've been able to make connections with all kinds of other people, manufacturers, social media influencers, other creators, like, and we have a giant community. And the really awesome thing is if you're new, if you guys are just finding my content, just pay attention in the chat, look at the names, click on their profiles. A lot of them have YouTube channels, and they all share lots of great information too. So yeah, it's awesome. All right, let's see. Oh, Brian, I didn't talk right through your super chat. I just got busy. Thank you very, very much for that super chat, Brian. I really do appreciate it. So Brian threw a super chat into the chat. You know, that's not something you have to do, Brian, but it is really awesome. And thank you very much. Okay. All right. Let me see what else we got going on in the chat. Why does Lennox use approach? What's the difference between that and superheat and subcooling? So, okay, I'm not going to be able to give you a book answer, but I can tell you that approach is just, for whatever reason, Lennox has chosen to use that way to do their non-invasive system vitals. Okay. So the cool thing about approach, right, is that it can be non-invasive. If you know how the system was designed, depending on how the manufacturer sized the condenser compared to the compressor and the evaporator size, if you know how the system was designed, then your approach temperature can be very predictable at certain temperatures. And with approach, the way you measure approach temperature is you measure the outside air temperature coming into the condenser versus the liquid line surface temperature. So you are not applying gauges, and your approach temperature is going to be measured from those two numbers, okay? Versus subcooling, where you take liquid line surface temperature and you compare it to the saturation temperature of the refrigerant on the liquid line too, and that'll give you a subcooling reading, okay? I always say that approach is an ass backwards subcooling. And that's just the way that I like talk about it. But approach does have its benefits. You can also use approach, and I believe approach is regularly used in hydronics, right? I believe with like cooling towers and stuff, I think you guys will use approach oftentimes as a number you'll reference. CM, again, thank you very much for that super chat, my friend. I mentioned 120 volt winch for where there is none on a roof. DeWalt makes an inverter that runs oh, okay, cool. Yeah. So I did make a social media post a while back asking about a battery operated winch, because it's going to be a little difficult to get power to a place where I potentially am going to be working. And I needed to operate a winch to get a compressor up onto the roof. Or that was the idea. So I've kind of gone back and forth on that one. My preliminary research is that the drill operated winches just basically don't have the guts, and you end up overheating the drills depending on the ambient temperatures and how long you're running them. So I'm not going to go with the drill operated one, just because I don't want it to be something I just throw away. I have a couple different options. I don't have to use a winch. I just thought it might be a little bit easier. I have a pulley system with that's basically going to be using mechanical advantage and reducing the load based on the different pulleys that the ropes are running through and the way that they're oriented, that, you know, realistically, when I'm on the roof lifting, I'm only lifting like, you know, 15 pounds of a 90-pound compressor, or 10 pounds or something, because of how many times we've reduced the load by running through the different pulleys. So I'll probably end up just using my pulley system and just set up a ladder with a piece of strut. The last time I did this job, I made a video changing a similar compressor on the same rooftop a couple years back. And I had made like a gantry system with Unistrut. And I don't think I'm going to do that this time. I'll probably just bring some ladders up there and use a piece of strut with a trolley on it and just pull my stuff up that way. But yeah, thanks for the advice on that. But I've seen the DeWalt battery chargers and stuff, and it sounds like something that's cool, but I just don't really need to carry that many more batteries in my truck and a tool like that. I do have a portable generator if I needed it too. So, yeah. So Jason's saying approaches used on cooling towers, water systems, and cooling towers. Yep. Right on. All right. Let's see what else we got going on in the chat. A vehicle mounted winch and a remote. No, there's no way to get a vehicle in the area of where I'm lifting. So if I could explain this to you, this is a shopping mall. Okay. And it is a building separate from the shopping mall. The building's height is the equivalent of a 5-story building. Okay. It's a tall building. If I was to use a crane to get a compressor onto this roof, I could do it, but it would end up having to be a 2-piece crane that's going to come on 2 diesel trucks. And to lift a 90-pound compressor, that just seems like a bit overkill, in my opinion. Okay. The only other way to do it would be a 2-piece crane or a helicopter, which would just be ridiculous for a 90-pound compressor, right? I would imagine that a 90-pound compressor on the bottom of a helicopter cable probably, I mean, the cable probably weighs more than the compressor. Well, they're probably not using the steel cables anymore, but I'm going off on a tangent anyways. But yeah, I don't think I'm going to need that. It's not that big of a deal, but it's a 5-story building. I have to go up 1, 2, 3, 4 flights of stairs to get to a 30-foot access. So but I get to park at the bottom of the stairs. So I'm literally just walking up 4 flights of stairs, and then I'm at a ladder and then 30 foot up onto the roof, give or take. So it's a big building, and you're not getting a vehicle to where I would have to lift or anything like that. It's not that big of a deal. Like I said, I'll just use my pulley system. Let me see what else. Reading through the chat right now. Okay. So when we are working with R290, a very common thing that I am noticing on social media, a lot of people are talking about it. If you guys don't already know, R290 is highly purified propane. It's like 98.9% pure or something like that, right? So it's taking all the moisture and contaminants out of the refrigerant itself. Propane is a combustible material that is actually capable of running refrigeration equipment too, okay? The interesting thing about R290 though is it's highly pure unodorized. It doesn't have the odorant added to it. What is the odorant in propane called? Is it mercaptane or whatever? Or is that with natural gas? Whatever odorant they use with propane, you don't want that in there, okay? But a lot of people have been talking about on social media, and I got a comment from someone asking me the same thing, is the question is R290, the refrigerant itself, more prone to leaks? Is there more leaks with R290? Is there something about R290 that is causing refrigerant leaks? I'm not a genius, okay? But I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to say, and I don't know this to be scientifically true. This is just my theory on how this works. It has nothing to do with R290 and everything to do with poor manufacturing, essentially. Okay. I would say that 95 to 98% of the refrigerant leaks on R290 systems that I find are installer error or customer error, meaning that the customer is just using highly corrosive foods and not covering it up, or the manufacturer just did not do a good job of installing the equipment. That's what my opinion with the refrigerant leaks, because I will say that there is a lot of refrigerant leaks with R290 systems, but I do not know that it's any more than there was with 134 and 404. I don't think the refrigerant, this is my personal opinion, I don't think the refrigerant has anything to do with the leaks, and it's just poor quality of a build on the equipment. Let's see what else we got going on here. There is ethyl mercaptane. There is no ethyl mercaptane. Oh, okay. So that's what I thought. It's for natural gas. So what is the odorant called that they put in propane then? I know it's something, but Let me see. Reading through the chat right now. Hello from Venezuela. How are you, my friend? All right. Let's see. CM says he likes new technology, but the quality is so low. I think, but remember something, okay? I think everybody can agree that quality in the last 5 years has gone down the drain significantly. Okay. Quality of everything. I have a dang ridiculously expensive heat pump sitting on the side of my house that costs more than a car should have cost when we were all teenagers. Okay. Um, and it blows my mind when I look at the quality of it, right? I know it's the technology that I'm paying for, the board and all that fancy stuff, but when you look at the quality of the way that heat pump was built, it's a Carrier Infinity system, if anybody's curious. It just doesn't look amazing. But I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued, and I think it would be the same across the board. Okay, I'm noticing on all the equipment that I'm buying, the quality of things is going down. I see a lot of really janky looking parts in a lot of equipment. I just started up. I made a video, but I don't know if I'll turn it into an actual video for you guys or not. But I was doing a startup on a walk-in freezer, and I filmed it, and it was some Russell equipment, a Russell condenser, and man, I'm just like, why did they use this part? And it is what it is. But I can say one thing, that I've talked to a lot of manufacturers, and I partner with Heatcraft, I partner with Sporlin, Refrigeration Technologies. All of those people are always trying to improve. Okay, that is one good thing, right? And um, every there's always going to be issues, especially coming out of the last 5 to 8 years. Things have just been crazy, and everybody's having issues, and those people are all working on their stuff, at least the stuff that I've talked to them about and everything. So all right, let's see what else we got going on here. 99% of R290 leaks are in the evap itself or at the cap tube joint at the evap. Yeah, and see, all the R290 equipment I'm working on is expansion valves, and it's always at the outlet or the inlet. No, yeah, the outlet of the expansion valve. And I just think it's not a properly brazed joint. And then that's a natural spot for expansion and contraction, as the refrigerant is going to change the flow all the time. And then that valve pumps down. There's always been a lot of leaks at expansion valves. And I think that poor brazing and poor copper quality is leading to a lot of these refrigerant leaks that I'm seeing on the equipment I'm seeing it on. How long do I expect my new unit to last? Dale Marr is asking me. I mean, okay, so let's put it this way. 25 years ago, you were not paying $2,000. Well, maybe not 25 years ago. 15 years ago, you were not paying $2,000 for a cell phone. Okay. The price has gone up significantly, and the technology's gone up too, but the price has gone up. I realized the original first cell phones were arms and legs, right? I remember my dad telling me he had to finance his first Nextels and stuff. But in general, how long do I expect my unit to last? I mean, we buy these ridiculously expensive phones and we use them for a year. In a perfect world, I think my system would last at least 10 years. The system that I'm installing, that's my prediction, that it would last at least 10 years. Will I change it before that? Probably, because this is just fun for me to film this. Once I've done the bulk of the work that I'm doing right now, I'm downsizing my system. I would consider replacing it every couple of years, just for video footage and video content, and being able to try to experience new things. So something I consider. But so I think realistically, though, it'll last at least 10 years. That's the hope. So read through here right now. Oh, I already answered that one. Okay, cool. What side of the trade that I haven't done interests me the most? The interesting problems of supermarket refrigeration sound very intriguing to me, but I would never work the hours that those guys work. I'm just not going to do it. We've had limited stuff where we used to work 60 plus hours a week here at my business, but we got away from that. I didn't like that anymore. So we don't work that much, and I don't want to work. I don't want to solve the world's problems at 2 a.m. I want to be able to solve the world's problems at a normal time of day. So I'm intrigued by supermarket work. I'm intrigued by VRF systems. Those are very intriguing to me too. And I would love to learn more about both of those, but it's not practical that my business would ever do any of that. If I have time, when I have equipment all instrumented up, can I explain superheat and subcooling? Maybe break it out in its own video for people to reference. I'm honestly going to defer your question because I cannot do an explanation of the basics like that justice compared to my friend Ty Brannaman. Okay. So I'm going to encourage you to go over to Ty Brannaman's channel. If one of the moderators doesn't mind, can you guys post a link to Ty Brannaman's YouTube channel in the chat? If you can't, it's okay. If anybody's interested in Ty's YouTube channel, feel free to shoot me an email, hvacrvideos@gmail.com, and I'll get you a link. I just can't do it right now. But if you want to learn the basics of refrigeration and air conditioning, Ty is the man, and I wouldn't even do that video the slightest bit of justice, okay? Let me see. Hello, my buddy Adrian from Reliable HVACRs in here too. How are you, my friend? Let me see. VRF is a nightmare after nightmare. Definitely, yeah. It sounds like it. It sounds interesting, though. Repairs are not worth the investment, Mario says. I don't know what you're referring to because I'm scrolling back up in the chat. But a lot of equipment's not worth the investment these days, or the repairs aren't it. Love to HVAC is Ty's channel. Yeah, that's right. Brian Sanders says one of the moderators might be able to actually get a link in here because it prevents non-moderators from putting links. Brian Orr's site has some very good videos and articles on super. Yes, definitely. HVACRschool.com is Brian Orr's website. And again, he does a better job, amazing job of explaining basics that I would just confuse you guys. My words don't work right when it comes to explaining the basics. Let's see what else we got going on in the chat. Where is HVACR North? I don't know. I don't know where Joe is. So, I released a video this last week. The bar AC is not working and it had a bad condenser fan motor, but it was interesting how I found that motor, right? In that video, I mentioned that I use the OEM motor. I really, really try to keep my restaurants with OEM equipment. And I've been trying, because we've taken over some restaurants that didn't have a lot of OEM equipment. They had aftermarket crap everywhere. And I've been trying to get that out of the equipment and go back to OEM because as a business owner, it makes it easier for my technicians and my future technicians to repair the equipment if they're not having to undo crazy, MacGyver repairs and stuff. So I've been trying to, as equipment has problems, get my systems back into normal spec. So that way it keeps it easier for future employees to change parts. It can get really confusing. I know I struggled with a lot of that with aftermarket parts when I was first coming up. So I try to make things as easy as possible for my employees. I prefer to use OEM for that reason. Plus, it's just easier. You just call the manufacturer, what's the part number? They tell you, boom, you order the part, you put it in, make sure it's operating within tolerances and move on. You don't have to sit there and try to think and think and think. What happens if I do this? How tall is the motor stack going to be? Where's the condenser fan blade going to sit? How much lower is it going to sit? Is someone else going to know what too low in a condenser fan shroud is? I'm not trying to make my employees sound like they don't understand things, but trying to figure that out on a really hot summer day is even difficult for me, right? Wondering why is this AC running high head pressure? Because it has really clean condensers. I can see right through them. What's going on? Why is it going off on high head pressure? And then you realize someone put in an aftermarket condenser fan motor and the blade was 3 inches too low. So it was recycling the air from the condenser back into the condenser and not pulling it out of the condenser, rejecting the heat. So things like that just make it really difficult for people to diagnose. So why not just go with OEM? So, but with that being said, would I consider using Mojave aftermarket condenser fan motors for the high ambience? And yes, all of my employees carry Mojave motors. We carry a 0.5 horsepower and a 3/4 horsepower motor. We use them a lot for refrigeration racks. I have used them for air conditioning equipment in dire emergencies, and they do work. I like the fact that they run in the higher ambience. I believe it's a 60 degrees Celsius, or is it 40 degrees Celsius? I don't know, whatever. It runs in the higher ambience, and they're good motors. I do use them, but I still prefer to go with OEM just to make it easier. So let's see what else we got. OEM sucks. I mean, non-OEM. That's funny. Except Train, you'll never get the parts. Yeah. Everybody has parts issues right now. Reading through the chat right now. Okay, cool. So we already got that. Planet Size. Hello, my friend. Started working on ice machines and you've had issues with removing scale on machines that don't get cleaned often. You don't want to scrape, but chemicals don't always work well. Any tips? Okay. If the chemicals aren't getting it off, I mean, let's just be frank. There's not much more you can do, right? I understand, and I've scraped. I get out a spatula and I've done it. It's not good though, because the problem on an ice machine with scraping the plastic, especially on the newer machines, is oftentimes they have antimicrobial chemicals built into the plastics. So when you scratch them, or built into the surface of the plastic. So when you scratch them, you'll actually gouge the plastic and allow bacteria to get into the plastic. That makes it almost impossible to clean. So it's not a good idea to scrape plastics on ice machines. But the question is, even on metal on ice machines, the stainless, it gouges that too. But the question is, when the calcium gets so bad, what else are you going to do? Well, you just give that to the customer. You tell them, this is not cleanable anymore. You know, if I scrape it, it's going to get dirtier faster and you're going to have bacteria building up on the machine. You know, they need to be doing routine maintenance. So there's not a good solution. If a customer wants to sign off on you scraping it off to make it look better temporarily, then make them sign off on it and go to town. But just understand, no matter how straight you try to hold that spatula or that putty knife or that razor blade, it's still gouging the surface a little bit. So, electric toothbrushes clean ice machines. Yes, an electric toothbrush can clean an ice machine. It can do a good job as long as you can get a big enough head on it. You want to make sure that you don't use anything with metal bristles, even a regular toothbrush. But obviously, you know, you get an electronic one, you can go get cheapy ones now, you know, basically throwaway brushes. It's not a bad idea. It really isn't. They work. They have, as long as they have the soft bristle brushes, that's the best thing to clean the ice machine. So see what else we got going on in the chat right now. Reading through here, electric, I already answered that one. Yeah, cool. One reason why ice machines use the expensive filters. Yeah, but even with the expensive filters, here's the problem, is that with ice machine manufacturers, you can go to, you know, insert name of whatever ice machine filter there is, right? But all honestly, Pentair owns all of them, don't they? At this point, they own a good majority of the manufacturers that make water filters. But anyways, you know, water filters in general, they really need to be sized and selected based on the water quality of every location. Oftentimes, you'll get into some of these giant cartridge style filters, and they're meant to cover a broad spectrum of things and maybe not focus on what they need to get proper water clarity and quality, right? So, you know, filters can be kind of a struggle, but you know, it is always a plus when you use a filter. So, you know, but getting the customers to actually change the filters, that's a problem. So, you know, plugging up filters or undersizing filters, especially on Hoshizaki machines, can wreak havoc on the evaporators. Nasty says his wife got pissed when he used her toothbrush on the PM maintenances. That's funny, huh? That is really funny. Reading through the chat right now. All right. So answered that question. You know, I used to be, and I wanted to point something out too, but I got a really nice comment today of someone that told me they were like 16 years old and they found the videos and they really enjoy watching the videos. You know, that's really interesting. I don't know if I told you this. I'm saying this right now. If they're shoot, you probably know, in the Inland Empire of Southern California, okay? If you go to high school in the Inland Empire of Southern California and you watch my videos, one of you goes to my daughter's school, okay? Because my daughter says there's a kid walking around with an HVACR hat on, and I told her to go talk to him, but you know, trying to get teenagers to do things is a nightmare. But regardless, I used to get bummed out when I used to find out that I got all these comments on my videos and they weren't from HVAC techs, right? Some are from HVACR techs, but then some are from people that are not even in the trade. During COVID, there was this big wave where YouTube was trying to show this channel to so many people. And I got a big wave of new people for this channel. And it always used to kind of like bum me out when I'd find out they weren't in the trade. Okay. But then I started getting these emails and, you know, and then I started realizing that there's a 16-year-old right now watching this, right? Watching Rick's video from HVACR Survival, watching, you know, Big Clive or whoever. There's so many different content creators. People watching our videos are getting interested and want to get in the trade. So that makes it all worth it, you know, and that is really cool. Another thing is that's why I keep this channel so clean. Because if you guys know, I also do a show with my friends on the HVAC Overtime YouTube channel. It is the polar opposite version of me on that channel, right? This channel's super clean. that channel is a little more real to my sense of humor and the type of person that I am. Okay. I'm not saying that this is fake, this me, but this is just a clean personality of me. But overtime's a little bit different. So yeah, I keep this clean because of the younger people that are watching these videos for sure. Brandon, thank you very much. Brian, again, already saw that. Okay, so Brandon, thank you very much for that super chat, my friend. Oh, that's awesome, man. That's really cool, Brandon. That is really cool. You know, is there going to be a Christmas giveaway this year? That is to be determined. I don't know. Usually at the end of the year, I do some sort of a giveaway, just an end of the year giveaway. Some people call it a Christmas giveaway. I just call it an end of the year thing because it's not tailored towards Christianity or one specific religion or anything like that. And the reason why I say that was I had a gentleman that was having a hard time accepting something that he won from me because of his religion. And I felt so bad because of the way that I called my end of the year giveaway, because I used to call it a Christmas giveaway, right? And that's not what I wanted. So anyways, end of the year giveaway. I'm sure there will be something. I don't know, to what capacity, but there will be something coming at the end of this year for sure. So, Joe owes Brian a gift card. Give him hell. Yeah, Joe from the HVAC Overtime Show is one of our co-hosts, and he owes Brian Sanders a gift card that I gave Joe to give away at my end of the year giveaway last year. The end of the year giveaway last year, I picked I don't know how many people. I think I picked 8 people for myself or something, or I don't know. I picked people for myself, and then I gave gift cards to my friends that are social media creators to give away to their followers too. And my friend Joe, HVACR North from the Overtime Show, won one of those gift cards from me, and he gave it away to Brian, and Brian still hasn't gotten that gift card. So come on, Joe. I already gave you my money. Joe is we make fun of Joe. Inspire the young to get into this trade. And I hope that the young starts getting in this trade. But something that we need to do better as a trade, we need to be more accepting of the people coming into the trade. I 100% realize that the new guy coming into the trade today, straight out of high school, has a totally different personality than I had, you had, or anybody had. Okay. But it's okay. Generationally, people change, personalities change. One thing that's changing for the better, and I still want to get better, is the way that we treat this trade. This trade, for a long time, as employees and as technicians, we were privileged to be part of this trade, right? People made us think that we were less than, but we are the technicians of this trade, even though we don't own the companies, right? I own a company, but I mean, you get the point, right? Even though we don't own companies, we as technicians need to be treated correctly. We need to be treated right. We need to be paid well. And that is getting a lot better, right? You have to admit, over the last 10 years, the pay in this trade has gone up significantly across the board. It's doing really well. And technicians are getting more days off and more time to themselves. And I think that's an important thing, and that needs to continue. Technicians need to be honored. But at the same time, I'm also a business owner, and I have to run my business within the range of what customers are willing to pay us, right? So within our niche, we can only go up so high in pricing. Therefore, we can only raise wages so high. But I also see the other side as a technician, where it's like, hey, we need more money, because technicians do, right? We do a lot. And we, as HVACR techs, you and I, we are electricians, plumbers, architects, engineers. We know a little bit about a lot, right? And we have to perform and use that knowledge to fix our equipment. So we need to be paid and taken care of for that too. So, let's see. Patience is the key. Lots and lots of patience with new guys. And that's okay again too, because, the point that I was trying to get at earlier too, yes, as a technician, I've lifted 90-pound compressors. I've lifted ridiculously dumb things up the side of a building, pushing them, something that's over 90 pounds, with a guy up on top pulling as I'm pushing, going up an extension ladder, just putting my weight on the object. I've done those stupid things. And I was applauded, good job. You did a good job, right? But no, we need to change that culture. So yeah, the new guys are different because they don't just jump into things that are dumb that could have potentially got them hurt. The new guys maybe don't want to take those kind of risks. And while that may be frustrating for business owners of my age and older that had to take, do that stuff, we have to learn that that wasn't okay for us to do that. And that's not the way this trade should be operated. This trade should not be operated to a point that you're working 17 hours in a day. That's just ridiculous. I mean, can you honestly, there's nobody out there that can give 17 solid hours of perfect dedication and work and energy to the same task. Okay. We need breaks. So anyways, I'm going off on a tangent as I usually do, but this trade needs to be treated better 100%. So, let me see pros and cons of the CPS. Oh, my favorite name of an HVACR tool is made by CPS, right? I don't know what the heck CPS stands for, but CPS, they're famous for their scales and they have some other things too, but they have a really, really interesting recovery device that makes the recovery process so much easier. It is simply a subcooler. That is all that it is, but it has a really interesting name, probably one of my favorite names, the molecular transformator. That is the name of their tool, the molecular transformator. Okay. It's changing states from a liquid to a vapor. Okay. It's molecular transformator. That's just silly. But anyways, regardless, what do I think about the CPS subcooler, right? I mean, it's cool. It's a subcooler. Personally, I've had them. Okay. And I don't really use them that much. The concept is that you take a refrigerant line that's going to change the state of the refrigerant. It's a subcooler, and it's going to, change the state of the refrigerant. So that way, when it dumps into the recovery tank, it, occupies less volume essentially, right? Is that the right way to say that? But it keeps the pressures down by keeping it a liquid. I don't think occupying the same volume is the right way to say that. But anyways, what do I think about it? I don't use it. It's just another tool, another leak point for me. So if I'm doing a recovery and it's that hot, I use large diameter hoses, 3/8 inch diameter hoses, core remover tools, taking out the cores. Okay. And then if I have to, I just dump my recovery tank in a bucket of ice and then just run water over it if I need to. So there's no need for me to have an actual subcooler that I dip into a tank when I can just put the recovery tank in the water. One thing about putting your recovery tank in the bucket is if you're going to be running water over it, you need to make sure that you have a waterproof scale underneath it if you're weighing the refrigerant as you're recovering it, which we all should be doing, or taking other precautions to make sure that you don't overfill that cylinder. Okay. But, it can be a little tricky putting a bucket of water, but I just find that easier, and it's one less tool I have to take on the roof. So is there anything wrong with the molecular transformator? No, there's nothing wrong with it. You can also make one at home if you want. The CPS one just has some cool body armor on it to try to protect the coils so they don't get punctured. But I mean, you could easily make one out of some flat stock copper and some 3/8 copper, 1/2 inch copper, and coiling it around with some flat stock to, braze to it to hold it in place. You could totally do that. Make it yourself. It's kind of fun. Let's see. You can build your own subcooler on eBay. Yep, exactly. All right. So I already answered that question, covered that off my list. Oh, okay. So Paul had mentioned something. Paul had emailed or commented, I think. I can't remember where Paul said this. I think it was a comment. But Paul had asked, when I'm working on these rooftops in the middle of the summer and it's 110, 115 degrees, whatever it may be, you know, how is it that I can function? And also, do I have other technicians checking on me, to make sure that I'm okay? Because the last thing you want is for me to pass out on the roof or something like that, right? Yeah, we do kind of have a buddy system. First off, management knows, and I've talked to managers in those extremely hot locations. Hey, if I have technicians on the site, I'd appreciate you to check on them on a regular basis, please. And then I also will call and verbally check on the techs. If we know we have a guy working out in the desert, myself or my dad will get on the phone and make sure that everybody's, just doing regular check-ins to make sure people aren't overheating themselves. Obviously, talking with our employees, making sure they understand that the moment you feel heat stroke, it's too late, right? Heat exhaustion is a bad thing, and you've got to be careful. So let's see what else. But I mean, it's just one of those things. So yes, we do have a buddy system. So Brooke had asked about measuring airflow on package units. So I'd mentioned recently in a video that there's not a really easy way to do so. And Brooke had a suggestion of using a dual port psychrometer from Fieldpiece to measure airflow. Brooke, you would probably be talking about this old school. I'm sorry, did I say manometer? I meant psychrometer. But he was asking about using a dual port psychrometer to measure airflow. Psychrometer is not going to do anything with airflow. The only thing a psychrometer would do is help you to get to some formulas, right? But a psychrometer is just going to measure temperatures and moisture content of air, essentially. Okay, so that's this one. This is old school. This is not being used anymore. The only way that you could use a Fieldpiece tool to kind of measure airflow would be a in-duct hot wire anemometer. But these are not very accurate. This is not used anymore. This is what you were kind of, I'm assuming, referring to because you said manometer. So this is a device. Basically, it's a hot wire anemometer for traversing ducts. This was not a very accurate method of measuring airflow in equipment because air is very turbulent. The more you learn about that, the harder you realize that using a device like this, you're going to have to do a lot of average points and do some averaging and just get airflow that way. There really isn't a great way on the commercial side for measuring airflow at this point. You know, on the residential side right now, you have a very, very good opportunity with the True Flow Grid, which is made by the Energy Conservatory. You can use that on smaller package units. You know, filter size is probably 30 by 30 at the most. I think, I can't remember how big the pieces go for that, but, you know, measuring airflow on package units is a really, really difficult thing. There's really not a tool right now. Measure Quick does a really good job of estimating airflow using psychrometers. It's basically inputting the numbers into a formula, and then you're backwards calculating airflow based off of temperature changes and enthalpy changes. I believe it's like a mass flow formula of something that they use to calculate airflow. But anyways, it's an estimate, but it is probably the closest way. But the flaw to using things like Measure Quick is that your psychrometers in the package units are supposed to be a ways away from the coils, and they're not. When you measure on package units, you measure up at the equipment, so you can get some skewed numbers that way. Let me see what else we got going on in here. Oh, right on, man, Sean. That is really awesome. I do appreciate the nice words, my friend. The good thing about being on the roof is free water from the condensate drains. Yeah, I dare you to. No, I don't dare you to. Let's see what else we got going on in the chat right now. What am I missing? Restaurants have terrible airflow. Yes, they do. 100%. You need a flow hood for commercial. The problem with the flow hoods for commercial, Jason, is that you need a power flow hood. Powered flow hoods, oftentimes, I do not know of a really good powered flow hood that you can put on a variety of commercial style grills, because I can go to one restaurant and I've got spiral exposed duct with diffusers, round diffusers on it. Then I can go and I have, you know, non-level tongue and groove roofing with registers installed on it and weird slanted angles that you can't securely put a flow hood around. So, I mean, in the restaurant space, it is truly hard. If it was a perfect world and we just had drywall walls and, you know, flat, large areas around the grills and we had a big enough powered flow hood, we could measure. But it is difficult to really get an accurate representation on the commercial side. There's some interesting things, though. I have spoken about this to a really, really cool manufacturer that I know that does this kind of stuff. And I've talked to them about these problems. And these are interesting things that they put into their idea area of potential tools, you know, that can do that kind of stuff. So that's really cool to be able to give that kind of feedback. What else do we got? Ooh, Ike, my friend, thank you for being a channel supporter for so long. Ike has been a viewer of this channel for a very, very long time. Really generous viewer, has helped me through different things, helped me design a computer system for my home. Ike is a really cool dude. It's awesome to be friends with him. So thanks for being a channel supporter for so long, Ike. Jason Johnson says he's seen the tab guys doing it. Yeah, the tab guys, they can get some creative stuff going on, but I'd be interested to see like real measurements, man. There's so many dynamics that go into true airflow. So I've just started to realize that a lot of the measurements we've been doing for so long are just ballpark measurements. They really are, because we haven't had very good, accurate ways of testing things. So the more you research into the airflow and stuff, and I'm finding out like a lot of this is just like really, really good educated guessing, you know, and getting us in ballpark areas, but not very accurate as far as numbers go. But a lot of stuff that happens with the airflow too, and again, that I've learned, and I'm not an expert whatsoever, is how interesting airflow is, you know, and the properties of how turbulent the air can be. I have a short form video that I'm going to be posting on YouTube. I haven't posted it yet, but it was an interesting phenomenon that I saw from a fresh air damper to a puddle of water on the floor. And it was blowing my mind because it just helps you to visualize how turbulent air is. You know, we just think of air as being this thing, and it's like, no, that air is just blasting itself all around and moving around, and lots of things change it. And yeah, that really makes it hard when you figure all that stuff out to get real accurate measurements of airflow. Tab is typically plus or minus 10 to 15%. You know, but the interesting thing, like for instance, and this is what I'm talking about, right? When I've used or seen the airflow measurements using the Pell Grid type tools to measure airflow across a hood system, and you realize that that measurement is how they determine airflow going through the hood, right? They're setting up the speeds and making sure that it's meeting criteria, but it is not accurate. When you look at how you actually measure it and you're just taking an average across the air, like there's just no way it's 100% accurate. But anyways, I know that the tab stuff is still amazing. It's just been blowing my mind the more I'm doing research and finding out that a lot of the measurements we've made for many years are not as accurate as we think they are. Eddy air currents. That's right. Let's see. Airflow is a whole other field. I mean, it really is. It's starting to blow my mind. Mikey wants advice. Oh, this was a good question. So Mikey wants advice. He's been in the trade for a couple years, and you know, he just wants more tips on how to know when you're going up doing work on equipment to put service gauges on, how to know when to put them on, and how to know what to look for. Okay. So how do I know that, you know, superheat needs to be X number of degrees on a 70-degree day with, you know, high relative humidity, right? You have to do calculations, and basically what you need to do is you need to start researching the individual manufacturers that you work on, right? There's not just like one stop book that I can tell you to buy that's going to teach you everything and you're going to absorb it. Okay. It's going to have to take some investigating on your part, right? You're going to have to learn a little bit on your own, but you can start with some really good books. Okay. Most of the HVACR books out there, they all have the same materials. They're just presented in different ways. So find the book that works for you, research the book, and then start reaching out to manufacturers and listening when you talk to tech support and asking more questions than you need to ask to kind of gain knowledge from those calls. You know, just start banking that knowledge and then you'll start to pick it up. But you know, every air conditioner operates differently. Oftentimes they have some sort of a user manual, or you can download the user manual of a Linux unit, a York package unit, a Carrier unit, whatever, Train unit, Aeon unit. There's data out there that we can use to help us to troubleshoot. So I encourage you to go on all the app stores, whether it be Apple or Android, and research HVACR. Just search it in the app stores. You'll find these apps. There's lots of great knowledge out there. So I already answered. So Jeffrey had emailed me asking me an average cost. So Jeffrey is obviously a business owner, and he was saying, hey, what's the average cost for a new evaporator? And I'm assuming condensing unit for a walk-in cooler. And you know that, Jeffrey, I shot numbers like a broad range, but that's going to change from area to area and the size of the equipment. It's going to range. So I give them a range of like, I don't know, what did I say, $13,000 to $20,000 or something for a whole new walk-in system for your refrigeration equipment. But that's a ballpark number. It can go lower, it can go higher. It just depends on what you want. Are you talking about a 2 horsepower system? You talking about a 10 horsepower system? You know, what kind of equipment? It's all going to change. But hopefully that, you know, answers this question, but it's going to change everywhere. So already answered that one too. All right. What else do we got going on in the chat? Temp split, kind of go from there. Yeah. As long as but my mind was blown in HVACR when I learned that a temp split did not just mean 20 degrees difference between return and supply. Temp splits, I was working somewhere the other day, and the recommended temp split based off of the conditions of the equipment and the environment was like 16 degrees of a temperature differential from supply to return. That was the recommended numbers. Um, I've seen them as high as 25 degrees. It changes depending on the load, you know, but that blew my mind when I realized that. That's when I kind of started to question what I knew in HVAC, and that was probably 15 years ago or something. And it was just like, oh, we're not just looking for 20 degrees. Oh, okay, you know, and you learn that. So there's so many things, and don't ever be humble, or don't ever be ashamed to admit that you learned something, and embrace that stuff. All right. Leighton plays a big part. That's right. What happened to overtime last Friday? Adam had a family function and Bill had a family function. And then because I didn't do the show, I actually went to the mall with my wife. So we just all took the day off. And Joe, I don't know what happened with Joe. All right. Well, it is time for me to wrap this, everybody. Michael, how you doing, my friend? I am going to wrap this one up. It is time to go eat dinner. I could smell it cooking in the other room. And so that is awesome. I'm hungry. I really do appreciate you guys coming to the stream. I'm going to go ahead and cue up the outro music, and we will catch you on the next one.